Excellent, excellent. How's everyone doing? We still good? Awesome. That was very fun robot. Okay, so our next speaker, you guys should know who he is, and is going to talk to us about something that's top of mind. So please give a round of applause for Laurence, founder of Wildcat Labs, and he'll be talking about inside Samczsun's SEAL team. Cheers.
Hello, everyone. I've been given the graveyard slot now. It does feel like a real personal take to be like, here, you get the Friday afternoon slot. But it's good to be here. Last time I was here, I was on a panel on this stage, and I got blinded by the lights, which has happened again. So if any of you at the back want to leave, I don't mind, because I won't know. I am here as a proxy for the Security Alliance. You may have heard of them. Even if you have not, you probably have heard of SEAL 911 or some of the various other bots and efforts and initiatives that they do. Specifically, I'm going to be talking to you about the work that the Security Alliance has been doing in the last 13 months about wallet drainers and kind of how they've evolved, how they've been being fought back against, and how people are generally keeping your apes safe. I have only been in the room for a small part of this. I occasionally get brought into Telegram chats. I have turned up to events in person where people talk about this, but I am very much the mouthpiece for a story for at least a dozen people. So if there's questions, I'll just route you to SEAL at the end, and you can talk to them. So we are at February last year, and SEAL starts getting a lot of reports on the SEAL 911 bot going, hey, this is a domain for phishing. And so, the main thing there is you'll see these all the time. Like, every time you open up your message requests on Twitter, or you get some young, attractive-looking woman in your DMs, it's always something like as an airdrop or a trade link or something of the sort. You sign a transaction, your site takes you to a command and control server, you lose all of your link. Now, it turns out, having looked into it a little bit, speaking to the guys at Chain Patrol and so on, that a lot of these reports that were coming in weren't organic. They were other drainers reporting their competition, which made it really useful for us because it meant that we could be like, oh, there's actually enough of them to warrant us having a look at this. So they self-reported. So we started looking at this ourselves. And so as a response, SEAL built the SEAL phishing bot where you could just hit it with a domain. And what that would do is just push direct to a repo on GitHub, which is ETH phishing detect. And if something's there, then it just gets blocked up at the top level. Now, it turns out that some people were screwing this up or doing the wrong thing, and blocking things that they shouldn't, because that was a fairly easy vector to push things in if you just wanted to irritate someone. So they ended up having kind of a request override instead, but that's kind of where we were in February. Now, around this time, I think we hear about drainers a lot, but not many people know about the names of them. But they do have names, and there are several. So on Ethereum, there's Pink, Inferno, Angel, Ace, MS. There was a bunch of them. And it's not unique to Ethereum. We've got a bunch of them on Solana too, but we're not at a Solana conference, so I'm only going to focus really on these 5. Was that someone barking in the back? And the front? Jesus, I'm lucky today. So the shithousery when it comes to how wallet drainers evolve happens on Solana too, but I don't really care about talking about that because we focus on them at SEAL on Ethereum, and they're a lot faster to evolve. So drainers normally work as a little bit of a Ponzi, like most other things in crypto. So a dev or a team of devs will develop the code, and then they'll just sell it at some base price to some affiliate. And they're the ones that will hit you with the pig butchering or something more advanced, or I want to animate your ape, and they'll keep the vast lion's share of whatever it is that they take from you. But these are closed source because if you open source it, no one's going to pay you for your stuff. So every so often you would see, if you're in the right Telegram chats, recompile your drainer. And so what that would mean is you would have to go to a site, you'd log in, you'd provide a config, and it would give you a new binary, hard-coded with some values that you could then go and murk people with. And so here's an example. Don't ask me how I have an access login to the Inferno drainer, but this is what this looks like. Generally, you would log into it. There's account. They've even got multiple languages because they're very, very considerate. Customer service on drainers is top-notch. So you would say here's my config, here's the other things that I want, and you just download it and off you go. So as of like, again, I'm telling all this story from February last year, and you could only block command and control requests from a top-level domain, so like a specific URL. But, and this gets more technical, if you did some kind of resource request, so like you would be like, I want to .fetch some URL, like plus some kind of like suffix, we could see it happening, and we could see all the function signatures that were like, we knew what was happening, but we couldn't stop it. MetaMask was effectively blind. So we needed to like go, okay, how do we track wallets that are hitting like, certain domains and the other things that they could do? So we needed request blocking. That took 8 months. That is not an indictment on anyone involved in the process here. It's just that when you're dealing with something as large as, say, like, or as important as the MetaMask repo, you do need to go slowly. There's a lot of work to reverse engineer. You need to make sure you're not accidentally bricking things. But it did take that long. So what we're going to do now is we're going to kind of like zip through to October 2024, which is, so as of like, version 12.4.0, we finally got malicious request network detection that was implemented in MetaMask. Hooray. So in those intervening 10 months, one of them, Pink, did a very, very polite, we're done, we're leaving now, we won't be coming back. Thank you for all of your time. We're really honored that you like trusted us, which is a weird vibe from a Drainer gang, but there you go. Angel upgraded itself, started going by Angel X. It turns out that Drainers also work on acquihires. And they started so they bought the Inferno drug code and they implemented themselves into Angel Ferno, and no one really gave a shit about Ace. It was fairly run of the mill. So, as I mentioned, when people talked about recompiling their drainers, you would log in and you would find a panel, you just click a button and you get a new version, and that was hard coded. So I would get inside, if you reverse engineered it, you would see a string, fuck you function 0, and there'd be a fetch request to a specific subdomain, part in there, and that would be fine. You couldn't block against that. But with request blocking enabled, if you said, here's the top level domain, and then you blocked it, you would red screen every single instance of a drainer. As soon as someone started to try and phish you, you would just get hit with this, which does not look too different to when you are an innocent site trying to use use a protocol and you end up getting hit by blockade or what have you. But if this doesn't turn you off and make you think about what you're doing, you deserve to lose everything. That is designed to be a turn-off. So as of October last year, so we're only talking about 5 months ago, there was Angel X, Angel Ferno, and Ace. And so the most dangerous-looking ones were Angel X and Angel Ferno. So we were like, OK, let's go focus on them. We can start hitting them around. We can see what they're doing with their domains. We can start just smacking them around with a stick. And so we do. We have this ability now to start blocking things, and we go about it. We notice very rapidly that Angel X just stops. In retrospect, this is because they've bought the Inferno code and they've onboarded everyone from their own platforms into this kind of uni pool of bastards. And then we notice that we stop seeing transactions we stop seeing that the code itself is containing the URLs, and we start seeing it appearing on Binance Smart Chain in contracts. So I don't think the quality of this is not good enough for you guys to see. I'm very sorry. But you would start seeing really early versions of this where the code, a drainer would start referring to an address, and you would just hit some kind of read method and be like, this is the address of the C2 server. So down here, you can literally, you can't there because the fucking couch is in the way. But down here, the actual data translated is cloudjscdn.com. And they were just very brazenly going this is where it is. They started moving it to encrypted versions very quickly with AES. But if you want to, you can go and see this. Go and have a look. There's not much to it, but it's there. And then we start seeing that instead of just offering C2 as hard-coded, we started seeing that Cloudflare has this thing called workers.dev, which is able to spin up things really quickly. And we start seeing them being offered as the C2s. First off, they're every few days. And then eventually they twig that MetaMask only updates parameter configs, or the state of its world, every 5 minutes. So and BSC is really cheap, they start updating it exactly the same time. So even if we can see it happening, MetaMask can't propagate damage, so they can just move in the open. We're stuck. There's not really much we can do at this point. So we switch to something else, something's just come out of the void, and we start looking at that instead. And it turns out that's Ace, the one that we thought was shite, and it's evolved itself into its V2. That is much harder to reverse engineer. It's much more complex. Game recognizes game. Good job. We recognized, OK, they're vulnerable to the same kind of thing. So we start hitting them with the same C2 blocking stick. And the thing is, these guys are a lot more proactive and irritating. And they notice this, and they start actively trying to countermand the efforts that are being done against them. So they rapidly work out that, like, so when you do like a fetch request, like it's scoped to certain types of data, and they're like, okay, like the XML HTTP request is like where that's scoped to. So you could be like, okay, a fetch, MetaMask will stop that. If you're like anything in like image source or like a script or anything where effectively this is the same data, like you are just pulling it and shoving it out, MetaMask is blind to it, and they work this out very, very quickly. Another thing they could do is that like WebSockets, which is, you know, a client-server connection that allows you to communicate. We can't see those either. And so they do this for ages. They just move completely to WebSockets very quickly. Well done. And that's kind of where we are. Again, we can't do much about it. We do patch it, but it does take a while again, it has to. Again, important repo, you can't really screw this up. And so Jacob at MetaMask, augmented mode, does a big part of this. Sam is helping to reverse engineer stuff and then like helping to drive the PRs. Ace finally does, like, you know, we get this pushed through, and then it pisses them off. So we notice this transaction that comes through. Again, the quality's not great, but it's an AES encrypted like bit of ciphertext with an initialization vector in front. And if you translate it, you can see here, like, the IV comes from the front of the text, and then you can reverse engineer the drainer itself to get the key. But they'd said, like, funny Earl is augmented mode, please kill yourself.com. So like they've noticed that they are not able to do their WebSocket stuff anymore, and that irritates them. And shortly after, because there's a million ways to like hit this hole, they're like, as soon as you start talking about kind of client-server connections, like to like that are not just like fetch requests, you could do the same thing. There's WebRTC as well, which is like direct peer-to-peer. So like you have the signaling step, you connect to a server, and then like you got full duplex communication, and like you can do that there. And so they write a proxy, and they just start doing the same kind of contract like signaling on Binance Smart Chain to tell you where to go. And again, we're stuck again, and this is how Ace looks right now. If you get drained, it is very likely because someone used Angel Phono or Ace, and this is how they're doing it. Don't sign things. It's very simple. Now, whilst all of that was happening, we started noticing like we could get a little bit heavier with the hammer that we were hitting. We started noticing that like if you're rotating things every 5 minutes, you eventually just kind of lapse into like algorithmic patterns. And we start seeing some of these algorithmic patterns in terms of like what they're putting up. And eventually we go, fuck it, ban everything. Everything that matches this pattern, regex, done. And then they change it, they do it again. And even people at Cloudflare themselves are sitting there like actually actively intervening, but it's not really helping at the time. So after enough of this, when they realized that Cloudflare are actively like conspiring against them, they moved to Koyeb, then they moved to Bunny.net, where they live today. I won't go into the details of like the secure proxy setup they've got. Like there's a little bit more of a step now. If you go to Inferno, they ask you to like set up an endpoint for a server to like run a PHP script, and then like it just pretends that it's there. If you ask it for something like you're not a drainer, it'll give you some dummy response that like suggests it's clean. And that's what Angel Phono looks like today. And that's quite frustrating because it means that Seal and these drainers are kind of stuck in this cat and mouse game where like they do something and we notice and we reverse engineer it and we fix it and we're like, found, like, job done. And then about a fucking week later, they're like, surprise, you didn't think about this. And then it comes out again and then the wheel turns. So yeah, like it very much does feel like, you know, how to save yourself from wallet drainers is draw some circles, draw the rest of the fucking owl. It is immensely frustrating, but we're getting there. Like there is constant progress. It is not a bad ending. It's just a thing that we need to constantly be working at. If this is the kind of thing that like tickles you, if you're technical in this kind of way, and you want to like help or you want to learn more, I'm not the one to ask. What you need to do is you need to find Sam and the others, like Janine, etc., at the Security Alliance, and you need to hassle them, because they are welcoming the hassle. We need more people at Seal. We need more like eyes, contributors. Like a lot of it is the person, like just the manpower needed to help. If you don't want to do that, send me some money. And for the love of God, okay, guys that are here, probably going to be relatively smart enough to not fall for this kind of thing. If you're watching this online, no one actually wants to animate your ape. So stop clicking the link. Thank you very much, everyone.